Okay, so we are on day 5 of going through the A Journey Within introspective guided journal. Here is the quote and the writing prompt for today. The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. Write about 3 things you have recently learned and 3 things you want to learn. So again, just if you want to follow along and journal with this, pause the video and take about 10 or 15 minutes to write what comes up for you when you read this. And like I said before, the way that's worked best for me is to just not think too hard on it. Don't overthink things, and just write whatever pops into your head first. So I will be back on in just a second to talk about what I wrote about this several months ago. Okay, so again, after reading back on what I wrote several months ago, I'm realizing that things that are going on in my life at the time, I'm pretty sure are impacting my responses to these. And I kind of wish that, number one, I wish I would have dated these pages. So if you get this, if you go and get one of these books, or if you're just doing this by yourself, I would recommend putting like the date that you fill these out. And I kind of wish I would have kept. See, I'm just not good at journaling. Like, I tried to keep like a daily journal, just kind of writing about what would go on throughout the day, but I feel like those are better. Like, it's like I would only feel inspired to do it when like certain things were happening. Otherwise, it was just really repetitive and I didn't like doing it, but I do wish that I would have been keeping like a journal talking about what was going on in my life from day to day to compare what was happening to what I'm writing here. But that's just something you may think about. But so the question was, write about 3 things you have recently learned and 3 things you want to learn. And also there are certain days where whenever I would read the prompt, all of these ideas of what I wanted to write would come into my head, and there were other days that I was just like, I literally have no idea how to answer this. And this appears to be one of those days, because I started out with, I'm pretty stumped on this one. Like, I am curious and I am constantly learning about a lot of things, but I didn't, on specific topics, but I didn't take this question to mean like actual intellectual things that I'd learned, or things that I learned like about different specific topics. I took it to mean like things I've learned about myself, I guess. So I put, I'm stumped off the top of my head, nothing is really coming to mind. So that's another thing where I say, like, if you like just start writing, like, don't get scared of the question, just write something. So by me writing out, I'm honestly pretty stumped, nothing is really coming to mind, dot dot dot, and then I just kept forcing myself, like, okay, well, what is it? And just kind of starting to write something, even if it's like, I don't know, kind of got me to finish it off. And so after that, I put, I guess I've learned to stop striving for perfection, to stop overthinking every little detail. So for that, that's something I've noticed, coming across some videos on YouTube of people talking about, like, I don't know if there's a name for it. Maybe like what's coming to mind now is like the gifted curse, of where whenever you're labeled as like a gifted child from a young age, and how that sets up a lot of kids for failure because they feel like that there's all this pressure on them to perform. And I guess I didn't really feel like that too much, but also people just always assumed I was smart and that I wouldn't need help in studying or learning or anything like that. And so I never built any good study habits. I was always like a procrastinator, and I'd wait till the last minute and just use the like adrenaline of like an upcoming deadline or a test to give me the motivation to finally study. And that got me through, honestly, I was able to make good grades doing that through high school and all the way through undergrad, and it didn't really start to catch up to me until I was in my master's program. And that was the first time that like the stress was more than just, because before I would get stressed, but it was almost an exciting type of stress. Like I would just feel like worked up and focused to study, and it kind of felt good. But there was a few times in my master's program that it was so much that it was just overwhelming and scary, and I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I don't have time, and it almost wanted me to shut down instead of motivating me to work more, I guess. And I didn't like that feeling, and I've had that feeling several times with my PhD program, which is why I'm trying so hard now to build good study habits, build good life habits, so that doesn't happen. But I think, you know, sometimes you see these gifted kids that are really gifted in like elementary school, and then they fall off in high school, and then you see kids that weren't really like marked as smart when they were in elementary school, and then by high school they're like doing really well in class. And I think, you know, those are kids that have developed really good study skills and really good habits to allow them to do well in school. But yeah, there's another thing that's like perfectionism, and I don't know if this is true, but they say that like sometimes you procrastinate because you're a perfectionist, and if you procrastinate, then you have an excuse as to why something wasn't perfect because you didn't have time, and you're like, oh well, if I would have had time to, you know, do the best that I can, then this would have been great, but since I didn't take the time to do it, this is why it's not perfect. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, like it's almost like once I get started, I am like focusing on every little detail, and then like if it, I don't know. So, and that's one thing that my boss has kind of like pushed me to do is like, you know, don't worry about it being perfect, like just get it done. And so that's something I've been trying to do, and that's something I've been trying to do with these journals too, because I'm like, you know, the journal doesn't have to be perfect, just do it. And so that's, I think, helped me. Okay, going on from that, I've also learned to sort of let go of who I think I want to be and start being more realistic of who I really am, or at least who I think I am at this moment. I don't really know exactly what that means because, you know, in previous entries I've said that I don't know who I want to be. But I think I have had this idea that I want to be something. Like even if I don't know what it is, I want to just keep going and getting ahead and keep climbing even if I don't really know where it's going. And yeah, like I'm trying to just think more realistically of like what, because I've had so many jobs and I've thought like it's just been like one job to the next. It's like, oh, I think I want to do this, so let me try it. I'll do it for a while and then move on to the next thing. And I've just never really thought about like what is there going to be that I can do that I can realistically enjoy for a long period of time. And I'm just kind of like, if I did have an idea of who I wanted to be, it was a very vague idea. It was just, you know, I think I'm going to be something, this vague idea of this something big that I'm going to be. But now I'm kind of stepping back from that, and I'm like, I don't need to be something big, whatever it would be, or something substantial. I just, you know, want to just be and be happy and get into something that I can do consistently and still be happy with it, I guess. There's actually a funny, I probably shouldn't even mention this because I don't know the name of it, but there's this TikTok of this like Finnish business that makes like fans or something. I don't even know what they make, but they have this guy that works for them. I think his name is like Kirill, but he's so interesting and you can tell that he's extremely smart. But they did a post today talking about how, like, you know, do you think the company takes advantage of you? And he's like, no. He's like, I like my job here. I want to do as little as possible and have time to do the things that I enjoy. And so I'm able to do that here. And that's kind of how I feel. Can I do like more things if I put my mind to it? Yes. Do I want to put forth that much effort to get these things that probably won't make me much happier? Like, I don't I don't think so. I don't know. But anyway, let's see. I've learned to let go of the thought of having an ideal relationship. I put ideal in quotation marks, and just settle with trying to be happy. And so I get the feeling something was probably going on with my relationship then. And I don't really want to talk too much about my relationship. But yeah, I guess part of that is like, I guess I've always felt like I didn't really know, I didn't think that like the ideal relationship would be like what's in the movies, but I felt like I would know whenever it's like the person is right for me, because I've had a lot of relationships in the past and I always felt bad because it's like I would be really into the person at first, and then it's just kind of as time went on, like everything else, like jobs and everything, I would just like lose interest or get bored, I guess. Like if the other person wasn't like moving forward or I don't know. And so I recognized that in myself, and I always felt bad about that because, and I just thought, I don't know that there's ever going to be anybody that can hold my interest for long enough, I guess. And so I held that thought of like, well, maybe there is this thing that when you meet the right person and you'll just match and it'll be perfect. And you know, I'd seen kind of a bad relationship with my parents, and so a part of me was like, well, maybe I'm afraid of getting, because I always felt like my mom was kind of stuck in a relationship with my dad, and I felt like if they would have divorced, that she could have like gone on and done great things, but like my dad was like weighing her down. Now that they have split up, I'm not really sure that that was the case, but I mean, it may have been. I mean, we'll never know. But then I also did see like a good relationship in my grandparents. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents when I was a kid, and so I've seen both sides of it. You know, I've seen, and I don't know if I was just scared to get stuck with someone like my dad, that would hold me back, but I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I guess I was rethinking, you know, how to have a relationship. I don't know. And then I put, I don't know. These are sort of bad answers, I think. As far as 3 things I want to learn, I want to learn to be more focused on the things that are actually important so I can stop being stressed all the time. That's basically the main thing, and I know exactly what that's referencing because I just am constantly, for like the last, I don't know how long of my life, I've just always felt like behind at work. And if it's not behind at work, I'm behind in school. And instead of like spending all of my time getting ahead at work and getting ahead at school, it's like I would get sidetracked by things that I found more interesting. And, you know, I would call it productive procrastination, because it wasn't like I was just sitting and watching TV. You know, it's like, oh, well, I need to clean the house, or, you know, sometimes it would be doing chores around the house I would get distracted with when I knew that I had work to be done or classwork to be done, or it would be, you know, other things, like searching for things online that's interesting to me, or getting sidetracked by, you know, dissertation research, which I don't know. It's just prioritizing the things that need to be done first. I haven't been very good at that, where it's like if I would have just done my work, done my homework, then I would have all this time to do all these other things. But I wasn't prioritizing that. And I'm still working on doing that. Like, my goal towards the end of this year is to just get ahead or get to a point where I'm like totally caught up, and then I can just take on things like as they come. And I've definitely made some progress with that in school, and my stress and anxiety levels have gone down substantially, for sure. And this was coming off of, so if this was January, I had like a meltdown in December of just feeling overwhelmed. I was taking 2 classes. We were working on papers and things like that with work. And I'd gotten so behind. One of my classes I did great in. The other class, it wasn't even like we didn't have weekly check-ins or anything. It was just kind of like, here's all the information, do all the assignments, take all the tests whenever you want. Like, there was no checking in, nothing. And so I just kept putting that class off because there wasn't any accountability for anything. And then I got to a point where I realized, like, I'm so far behind. There's literally no way I can catch up with all this stuff, and I'm gonna fail this class. And I just had like a total breakdown. And my boss helped me get out of it, and I got like an extension on the class. So like during this time that I was writing this, I was still working on finishing up that class this spring. So I knew, like, I need to work on this class. I need to get my work done. I need to, prioritize that. I said I just want to learn how to better manage my life so I can get out of the rut that I'm in and start moving forward on a path where I can realistically see a happy end. At the moment, I'm only seeing the path right in front of me, and it doesn't look the greatest. I want to learn how to change that. And I also want to note that I feel like my handwriting changes from day to day too. Like, the handwriting on this page is like not as great. It's like very messy. Compared to some of the other pages, it was just kind of like I was trying to write it and get it done. I don't know if that means anything, but yeah, I don't know how I feel about these answers, but I definitely think they're related around what I was going on at that time with trying to get caught up with that class. And in January, there's also a lot of work stuff that kind of comes in, like first of the year stuff. So I feel like I was under pressure from that. And then dealing with like trying to navigate a relationship, kind of. Yeah, it was a lot. So I think mostly I'm just like, I need to learn how to handle this and manage this. And if you've been following like my habit tracker and all that stuff, I think I found a way to at least start, and I do think I've built some good habits. So I think I'm making good progress on those goals of, kind of learning how to do things that I feel like would benefit me. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm set up to be in a good place, and I just hope to keep getting better. But I definitely feel like I'm in a much better place than I was right here. So that's good. But yeah, like, what do you think? Or is there anything that you've learned? And see, I don't know if this question is asking like, what are 3 actual things that you've learned, or what are 3 things that you've learned about yourself? So I took it as things that I've learned about myself. So yeah, feel free to share anything like that comes to you, and I will be back tomorrow with day 6.